today. It's a little different style than I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. But please help support my work by making sure that you go to my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the different products that I offer. I have ebooks, supplements, different classes on immunology and pulmonology. You can learn a lot if you go to my store to improve your health. In addition, help support my work by making sure you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. I've been doing live streams lately on my YouTube channels. I'm also doing live streams on Rumble, and I've been doing some tests on live streaming on Brighteon. I'm not that happy with the Brighteon feed yet. There's a little feature that I prefer to have that they don't have. So I'm probably not going to do a live stream on Brighteon for a little while. But you can find my live streams on these other channels. So please subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. And help support my work by donating. You can donate on my website through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee, or you can be a paid member to my Patreon channel. It's through the donations and the ones that are paid members to my Patreon channel that allows me to do these videos for free. I have thousands of videos that talk about economics and how to improve your health and current events, geopolitical situations that are going on. So there's lots that you can learn by supporting my work, and I greatly appreciate the ones that have been supporting my work. With that said, this video is going to be more focused on drones and the DoD. All right. So what I'd like to talk about is my observations. I know for the last week or so, people have been talking about drones. You have Tom DeLonge talking about drones now. He's the singer from Blink-182. You have Dr. Greer, who has his own alien, channel, talking about drones. You have our Pentagon talking about drones. You have the local news talking about drones. You have your coworker talking about drones, and everyone has a different take on it. All right. So let's step back and take a look at a little bit of, and I've been doing some videos about these things, trying to catalog what's been going on with the news. I think the way I'm cataloging through my live streams for the Telemetry series, I think, is interesting. Unfortunately, I had a strike on YouTube where some of those had to be taken down, but you can find them on YouTube, Brighteon, and Bitchute. But with that said, there was a knee-jerk reaction to assume that it was some sort of mothership from Iran off the East Coast, or it was some sort of surveillance technology coming from China. All right. There was another group of people early on that thought it was ET, extraterrestrial. A very low probability on that. And then you had ones that were going, well, this is probably U.S. defense doing some sort of testing. And then slowly, over time, we started hearing some drippings about radiological material missing. And maybe the drones were looking for the radiological material through the radiological signature. Then, there's, the standpoint of Palantir. All right, it's a company that's part of the defense contracting company. It's also part of, it's interesting, they're also part of biosurveillance in chemical and biological warfare. But So they have some drone technologies. So what's going on? All right, there's all these little data points that are taking place. There seems to be a lot going on all of a sudden in these different states. Sightings in New York just recently. So what's going on? All right. So let's look at the metadata, and then I'll give you my opinion. All right. That's how we'll do this show. So Dr. Greer, let's focus on Dr. Greer for a second. Retired ER doc that ends up, doing like UFO disclosure type stuff and briefing people in the military or officials in government about what's been going on with all these different technologies that have been reverse engineered and all this. So he's been compiling over the years, I think decades, information documents. I'm not an expert at this, so in terms of this ufology stuff. So I think it's called Project Bluebeam. I think it is. I may be wrong on that. But the point is that he's compiled a lot of information and has documented whistleblowers for his shows. He's done a few documentaries, I think 3. I saw the first one. And so the idea here is that there are extraterrestrials. They have, from his point of view, there are extraterrestrials. I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm just saying what he's saying. So Dr. Greer there are extraterrestrials. They have visited our planet. And, oh, by the way, the government has material of aircraft that have been reverse engineered. All right, that's his standpoint. Now, is that true or not? I don't know. I honestly don't care. But that's where he's coming from. Now, he has gone on a podcast stating that he feels that the drones that are up there, from what I saw of the podcast, I didn't see the whole podcast, I just saw clips of it, that the drones are a psyop. It's a government psyop, trying you to think that it's ET. Okay, all right. Government does a lot of nefarious things, so it makes sense. So that's Dr. Greer's point of view. Now, what did Tom DeLonge recently say? Tom DeLonge recently said that he's focused on this idea of mimicry. And mimicry is where my understanding of what he's saying is that you have drones up there that are trying to surveil objects that are extraterrestrial, but the extraterrestrial objects can morph and be similar to a drone. Not exactly, but seem like a drone. Okay, so it's mimicry. There's a mimicry of this. They're mimicking. The ET is mimicking what it sees to try to blend in or to try to communicate or whatever. Is that true or not? I don't know. I've always thought that. I think Tom DeLonge is a good guitarist, but I think he's a little nuts when it comes to this whole UFOlogy. But okay, that's where he's taking it. It's like ET morphing to blend in with drones. Then you have the Pentagon stating, well, nothing to see, everything's normal. But everyone's saying this wasn't normal months ago. There was an active increase in drones in the air over certain areas of the East Coast since November. Why? I don't know. But wasn't there in October, wasn't there in July, this high activity. Why all of a sudden? I don't know. So you have the Pentagon at the very beginning saying nothing to see. It's all nothing's new. Then all of a sudden they're slowly, walking it back, and these are all legal. They're flashing lights. They meet the FAA requirements. Why are they only doing it at night? Okay, so that's another data point. There are some videos during the day. The other problem is that it's not just in the United States. It's also in China. It's also in the UK. I've heard cases that it's happening in Japan. So I think there was also in Brazil recently, but maybe another South American country. But the point here is it's not just happening in the United States. So what's really going on? What's another data point that we have? We have a data point where World War III is around the corner, if we're not already in it. Now, we do know that drone warfare is the new weapon of choice in this evolving theater of conventional warfare in the European and the Middle Eastern theaters. Why? Well, anti-tank capability of the drone is very effective. Not only that, drones can be anti-personnel. So, and hunt down a battalion and just shoot them down. So anti-personnel and anti-tank capabilities of drones, or even anti-naval vessel, seems to be very effective with the war between Ukraine and Russia. So it changes the whole battle space. All right, so that means that there needs to be more investment and capability at the Department of Defense to be able to add to this learned knowledge in the European theater. Okay. During the exchange between Israel and Iran, drones were involved. Also, drones have been used during hunting down certain terrorists in Gaza. So, drone warfare is being used, right, in the Middle Eastern and the European theater. Okay, so that's a data point. Another data point is what our naval academies have been stating, that there is a disparity between the number of naval vessels that we have compared to China. We only have, I think, 7 operational shipyards to be able to make ships, while China, I think, is double that or more than double. So the point here is that they can kick out a lot more ships than we can. The question is the quality of the ship and blah, blah, blah. Another problem that we have is that the ships that we do make are very expensive and have a lot of technology that can have bugs, that just don't work, right? Because it's just too complicated. So our ability to make ships and have them functioning is harder. But with drone warfare, you can fix that parity problem between the naval U.S. naval fleet versus the PLA naval fleet by investing in submarine drones, air drones that are so small that it's very hard to shoot down, or so stealthy underwater that you can knock down a aircraft carrier attack group, sink an aircraft carrier. So the Navy has been investing in capabilities of drones for dropping torpedoes, submarine type drones for surveillance or torpedoing a vessel. So there's capabilities that the military sees in using drone warfare to be able to change the battle space. On top of AI, all right, these drones in the early days, it's remote controlled. Well, when you start having artificial intelligence and social learning between the drones, and you can kind of see this at events, right? Like concert events or, maybe New Year's Eve events where you have lots of drones up in the air and they do some sort of coordinated movement in the shape of something in the sky, right? But just take it one step further, where the drones are learning from each other, weather patterns. If part of the drone, part of the swarm of the drones gets knocked out, and how they need to adapt and change position. So there's social learning that can be developed with these AI. A lot of people don't understand. I did a little bit with my after I finished my Ph.D. I did a little bit in topographical finance and building up these algorithms for a trading station that used artificial intelligence. So I know a little bit about this idea, but the idea is that you can create agents that are AI agents, little machine learning agents that learn from each other. It's called social learning, and humans do it too. But AI, a lot of people think, oh, just an AI, and that AI is going to know everything. You do little social agents that learn from each other. And then the amalgamation of all that learning from those little agents is far more powerful than one AI learning. And it's far more nimble, because if you knock out part of the AI social network, the other part of the network survives. If you knock out just the superior AI, then the whole AI system dies, right? So a central AI system will never work. A decentralized, individual agents AI system will survive. Okay, so you have these drones, and these drones have this AI capability, but they're learning from each other. They know that drone 1 went in and got knocked out. They know its speed, its telemetry, how it was knocked out, and now it has knowledge of the enemy on how it knocked out drone 1. So drone 2 comes in differently, but it gets knocked out. Drone 3 has learned from drone 1 and drone 2, to the point where eventually the swarm knows where the Achilles heel of the enemy is. So there's a social learning that can be designed in these drones. And the Navy, the Air Force, right, are working on this. Okay, so that's a data point. So we are in a world conflict. You got the European theater, you have the Middle East theater, and you have the Asian theater. Okay, so, and then the ship parity issue between China and the United States. So what's going on with the drones up in the sky? Glad you asked. So, I don't think it's ET, all right? No matter what Dr. Greer is saying, no matter what Tom DeLonge's saying, I don't believe it's ET. I don't believe the story that it is a real nuclear radioactive material broken arrow kind of thing. All right, no matter if it's very benign, less than a Cat 3, or something more radioactive. I don't believe the story. So there was a document that came out that seemed to be legit, all right, where it was saying that there was a PET scan pin that was lost in transit. Well, okay, these, it has some radioactive material, less than Cat 3, and okay, but how much radioactive signature would that be? These drones would not have the capability to pick up the radioactive signature 600 feet up in the sky. And if you knew that you were going to steal something that is like Cat 3 or lower for a dirty bomb, don't you think you'd be smart enough to put it in some sort of lead container? So it doesn't make sense that there's a drone flying around for radioactive material for a Cat 3 or lower. Now, what if there's radioactive material that's higher than a Cat 3 that they're looking for, that has enough of a signature where the capability on these drones would be strong enough to pick up that signature? All right. Why aren't we seeing people with radiation poisoning in the hospital? We don't. Why is that? Because you don't have a broken arrow. All right. So, with that said, why was the Pentagon and why is some of the local news pushing the story of the broken, of some sort of radioactive material? As some sort of, is it a cover story? Is it, to go, well, there's a reason for these things to be up there and we didn't want to panic the public? Here's my concern. Trump is trying to restructure the DoD, the National Security State, CIA, the NSA, the Pentagon, to reduce the wasteful spending, but also, to be more lethal, to stop the wokeism, to reduce the DEI type stuff, and, to be beholden to the will of the people, not beholden to their own establishment of power and prestige. So the way I see Trump's administration is it's a restructuring. It's like you have a new guy coming in to a corporation. The corporation isn't as efficient as it can be, and for the corporation to be effective in future years, it needs to go through a restructuring. I think that's what's happening with government today, and hopefully Elon Musk and Trump's administration and Vivaswamy can establish this restructuring that needs to take place, especially at the national security state level. Yeah, let me just get some coffee here. But the national security state doesn't want to lose power, because they've been, if you look at the trajectory, they've been wanting power and been getting it through, further funding by Congress, through above board or below board funding, black ops or, white ops, and have been distancing themselves from accountability with Congress and with the executive branch over time, since after World War II. This is all really in the genesis of this issue with the national security state comes right off of the Manhattan Project. All right, and we're going into the Cold War, and continuity of government and nuclear war and blah blah blah. All right, so when a nuclear war happens, the government doesn't care about you. FEMA isn't going to be there for you. The people that are in power are more focused on making sure that them and their family members are protected in a bunker, and they don't care about you. But yet they used your tax dollars to create the havoc. This is what I call the Damocles of nuclear weapons. So, okay. So you have this national security state that doesn't want to lose the power that it has been gaining, accreting since the end of World War II. And they're going to kick and scream legally and illegally to make sure that they maintain that power base. My worry is that something is going to be orchestrated that is going to be like a 9/11. Now, how it's going to happen, I don't know. They're not going to do the same thing exactly. They're not going to do a pathogen release, right? One right after the other. They usually do something different. It's not going to be another plane crash into the World Trade Center or anything like that. It's going to be something different. What is it? Is it trying to get Putin to do a tactical nuke? If Putin detonates a tactical nuke, do you think that Trump is going to be able to restructure the DoD, the national security state? No. DoD is going to march right up to Congress, and Congress will write a blank check and give them more power. Like that day. So, are they setting something in motion to try to prevent Trump from happening? To prevent Trump from restructuring? I think it's highly probable. So, all right, so we have these drones floating around, probably testing things, but there also looks like they're looking for something. Now, they're only doing it at night, primarily, and there's other countries that seem to be involved. So maybe they're testing the airspace of these countries, the United States. I don't think it's foreign. I think it's the United States doing it, just to see what the social dynamics are. Because Raytheon does model social dynamics, right? Raytheon modeled social dynamics during COVID. Raytheon models social dynamics during war. Well, to get the individual agent data to be able to put into a mathematical model, to be able to simulate something, you have to understand what the behavioral dynamics of that society are. And the behavioral dynamics of, let's say, the United States versus China may be different because of cultural norms. So are they perturbating the society in such a way where they're trying to mathematically model the social dynamics to see what would happen? That's a possibility. Raytheon does do this. You don't believe me, look it up. They do this. Now, maybe Palantir does it too, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised because to me it seems as though Palantir is kind of a Raytheon competitor. So there may be in the same space for simulation, I don't know. But Palantir makes drones. So, with that said, it seems that the United States is doing something internationally and domestically in drone capability. Maybe social learning. The lights that are on these drones have FAA lighting, right? The weird thing is you hear these announcements where that certain airspaces have to be shut down over military bases and also airports because of too much drone activity. Now, if it's just a hobbyist doing that, they would be put in jail so fast. They would be prosecuted so fast, found and prosecuted so fast. So it must be part of the military industrial complex that is allowed to do this. And they just shut down the airspace. Now why? Maybe to kind of keep people in the dark, keep people on their toes, kind of mathematically model the social dynamics of an unknown like that. To see? Possible. Shut down the airspace so there's no potential collisions between commercial aircraft and this drone testing capability that's taking place. So to answer the question, why all of a sudden? Something probably big is in the works for 2025. Now it could be major drone technologies against Iran. Very possible. Very possible. But we're not really sure. But I don't think it's ET, right? And I don't think that it's foreign, because if it was foreign, I think that they would have already created an emergency power to shoot it down. I think it's us, and I think not only are we doing it in our space, I think we're doing it in other countries' spaces. Now, there was I think it was actually the NYPD, a drone that was brought down. Now, there's different ways to bring it down. You can interfere with its electromagnetic frequency, and then it goes into safe mode and lands. You could shoot it down, which is technically illegal at the moment. Or you can crash something into it, or you could or interfere with it in some way. But so there have been some stories where some have crashed down and broke, and others have gone in safe mode and landed. Now the one that I saw by the NYPD through just a clip on YouTube, the officer was showing this drone that was about the size, half the size of a car, and it branched out with its propellers, and it must have had like 8. It looked like it had 8. It was pretty big, right? And but this looks total like it's human made, and looked military. All right, it didn't look hobbyist. It was too big for someone to be at just hobby level. All right, so I think most of the things that will hobbyists have a car size or a bus size drone? Could they have one? Yeah, it would be expensive if they bought it. It'd be even more rare to see someone spend the time to make it, but it's possible. But I don't think that's the prevalent things that are happening up in the sky. It seems to be more military-industrial complex related, all right? So what does this mean? Well, I have something called the Bio-Patriot Act that I've been complaining about for 5 years. I've been saying that the government's going to be using drone technology to surveil the society and to curtail the freedoms. Because of what happened during the crisis in 2020, there are going to be ways to curtail your movement through inoculation passports or social scoring, digital currency, right? You saw what Friedlander did to the truckers when they were on strike. She cut their bank accounts. So the government is willing to curtail your freedoms if you don't obey. All right, so this is part of the Bio-Patriot Act. Another part of the Bio-Patriot Act is further development in capability of gain-of-function research. Another part of it is increasing powers to the different agencies to be able to curtail your freedom and force certain things on you. If, let's just say, the government said, you can only be 15 minutes away from your home. You know, you've heard about the 15-minute city. And they have a drone floating around, right, watching you, right? How do you, it's curtailing your movement. And they could just say, you know, they could say something like, well, we're worried about radioactive material, so you need to stay close to your home, 15 minutes away. And you just have a series of drones just floating around. Remember back in the early days of 2020 when there were drones floating down the East River and the Hudson River? Now, if you don't believe me, I'm sure there are videos about it on YouTube, all right? It happened. And there was a speaker that was coming out of these drones saying to, you know, shelter in place. It wasn't a helicopter. It was not a helicopter. It was a drone. So the NYPD has drones. The NYPD has been experimenting using drones during high-risk events like New Year's Eve. Well, through the BioPatriot Act, municipalities will be given funds for further surveillance of the society. So this is just another, and they're just going to say, well, we need to keep the society safe. We need more technology. We need AI. We need drones. We need to curtail your freedoms so you feel safe. And remember what I said before. Benjamin Franklin said, you give away your civil liberties for safety, you don't have either. Now, I suspect that Benjamin Franklin was a pretty smart dude. Probably smarter than most people today. So if Benjamin Franklin is saying that, you probably would want to heed his advice. So anyone that tells you that giving your civil liberties away to be safe is an idiot. But when you listen to some of the old videos right after 9/11, where you had local news talking to soccer moms, and they were worried about their daughter or their son being killed by a terrorist while they're on the soccer field. So she was willing to just give emergency powers to the national security state through the Patriot Act. Didn't understand Benjamin Franklin. And once again, a stupid American made a big problem. She could have been educated. She could have been making lots of money. Let's say in white suburbia, nice WASP neighborhood. She has a 401k, she has a good job, double income, couple kids are going to private school. She's living a privileged life. But she's willing to give away the civil liberties right after 9/11 to protect her kids, because her kids are really important. So much more important than your constitutional freedoms. That's how we got the problems that we have today, through allowing Congress to pass the Patriot Act. And so you fast forward, Patriot Act happens, and bam, 20 years of fucking war in the Middle East. And trillions of dollars wasted. Not to mention the death of our service members, or the casualties and the you know, the ones wounded, and them having to go through the rest of their life in a precarious situation because their leg is blown off from an IUD. Because the American citizen allowed for the Patriot Act to happen. Because the American citizen didn't say no. And so, something is similar happening, where there's going to be an event that is allowed to happen or is orchestrated in some way, by a stand down, that creates a fear where soccer moms want to protect their children and not the constitutional rights of the citizenry at large, because they care more about their self. Now, if you think I'm wrong, look at Wall Street. Okay? Wall Street keeps on saying the Federal Reserve needs to cut rates. The Federal Reserve needs to cut rates. Well, to cut rates, you have to intervene in the market. And the Federal Reserve prints money and puts it into the market. How does it do that? Well, it purchases bonds and gives money for those bonds to the banks. And then that hot money flows and the market goes up. And all the finance people love it because it's free money. So they can send their kids to private school. So they can have a nice life. But the reality of the situation is, once that becomes a problem because of inflation, the Federal Reserve has to raise rates now. And the finance community hates that. And so they sell the market. They have a shit fit because they're addicted to free money. It's their opium. They don't care about what they're doing to the country. They don't care that their addiction to free money is hurting the constitutional freedoms and the vibrance of the society. They don't care. So when you listen to, let's say, Bloomberg TV or radio, right? Or even Bloomberg himself, Mayor Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg, all right? They don't like Trump. Why? Because it shakes the establishment. Now, someone would say, well, Trump wants, lower rates. What he really, that's true. But what he's also stating is the Federal Reserve should get the fucking out of the way. And there's a bigger thing that he's bringing up that people aren't paying attention to. But these people on Bloomberg being interviewed, or they're the broadcasters, or Bloomberg, the owner, they'll make statements like, we can't protect our borders. We need illegal immigrants so we can make sure that we have a growing economy. Why is it growing? Well, we have people that are willing to do jobs at a low rate because they're undocumented. Isn't that modern day slavery? How is that right? It's not right. It's modern day slavery. So you have Democrats on Bloomberg stating that Trump is wrong by protecting the border so they could have their legalized slavery. Now, the Democrats are from the South. The Southerners, during the Civil War, were pro-slavery. Newsflash, okay? The Democrats have never stepped away from slavery. And unfortunately, it's the minorities that keep on supporting the Democrats they don't understand the larger dynamic that's going on. The wine and cheese Democrat has taken over and has legalized slavery. Use a different term. It's undocumented worker at a low rate, so you can have a growing GDP. Doesn't that sound so much nicer than legalized slavery? So, okay. So you have people, all right, get to the point, Paul, all right? So you have an establishment that doesn't want to rock the boat because they have political power, they are making money based on the current status quo, and they're tied into this, what I call the national security state. So when you have someone coming in, like Trump, that's saying, and Elon, that's saying, well, wait a minute, there's a lot of wasteful spending, and a lot of people are on the take. You know, how do senators become millionaires so quickly? Or House of Representatives so quickly? Because people are on the take, all right? They know where to put the money. This part of it's insider trading. They know where to put the money. It'd be fascinating to get someone to compile a spreadsheet of all the senators and representatives in Congress that have invested in Palantir in the last year. I bet you'd be surprised, very surprised. All right? So they don't want to rock the boat because, well, if you start restructuring the national security state, then people are going to start to reduce the amount of money that they're putting into that company. People aren't going to buy their stock, and the senators are going to lose. They're going to lose out. Look at Dan. What was his name? Kurt Chow, the Navy SEAL that's in Congress. I think, is he senator or is he a House Representative? I don't remember. I think he's representative from Texas. So he had a shit fit on X with cat turd. And I don't pay attention to cat turd too much, but there was this going back and forth with cat turd and the representative, and it was about the spending omni bill, and you could tell that the representative was upset with the omni bill being struck down because of what Elon did. He's on the take. The representative is on the take. And someone was mentioning, well, his wife, got this great contract, consultant deal right after he went to Congress and blah, blah, blah. This is the way they play. So there's no reason to change the national security state because they're on the take. They benefit from it. So when Trump tries to restructure it, they're gonna orchestrate another 9/11. Because when you start something like that, when you do another 9/11, you scare people. And Congress uses that fear to write into law to give more power to the national security state. And that's my big fear. That some sort of 9/11, a moment is in play. It's what I call the 9/11 is in play again. Meaning that we are elevating the risks for another 9/11 kind of thing happening in 2025 because of what Trump is trying to do. Now, AI can be used for good and evil. In terms of good, AI was used to read that Omni bill in such a short amount of time because it was 1,500 pages, right? So because it was 1,500 pages, it couldn't be read by a human so quickly. You only had hours to read it. That's impossible. But if you feed it through an AI and have it summarized, you got it in seconds. And that was how they found all the bullshit that was in the Omni bill. So that's AI doing good things. AI can do bad things too, right? This is something that I used a term years ago, maybe 7 years ago. I used the term AI fighting AI, where you had AI, like you had an AI that's trying to hurt society or take advantage of society, and you have other people using AI to try to circumvent or fight the other AI. And so this is you're starting to see the beginnings of this concept. So can we use these tools to try to stop another 9/11 from happening? I don't know. Is it going to be biological? Is it going to be chemical? Is it going to be radiological? Is it just going to be World War III? I mean, a major conflict in the Asian theater would prevent Trump from restructuring the Defense Department. So these are things that people need to really think about, because we're elevating risks to another 9/11 because they want to maintain power. There is a convulsion that's taking place within government. And you could see it you could see a great way to explain what I'm saying is you could see the convulsion of what was going on in the House of Representatives when that Omni bill was struck down. When it was killed, when the bill was killed. And how the representatives had they kind of like a shit fit because of an AI. I think it's pronounced Grok on X, which is their AI. An AI created that convulsion. And that's just passing a bill with a lot of pork that had lots of stuff for, different, different constituencies. For example, in that bill, one feature was to give safe harbor to the ones that were investigating January 6th. So Congress was investigating it. It would give them safe harbor and prevent people from going after them if they did illegal activity. Well, if you did illegal activity, why is Congress giving you a safe harbor? Sounds like Joe Biden with his son. Or extending, certain powers to DoD. Or the cons, there's these terms that we hear in the news, like Trump-proof. We got to Trump-proof it. All right, think about that. Remember when I said what Bloomberg is trying to legalize slavery by saying it's good for GDP? All right, we got to Trump-proof it. What does that really mean? It means prevent the President of the United States from executing his authority as the head of the executive branch. They're trying to suppress the power of the executive branch. Trump-proof. We got to Trump-proof it. We got to do this deal with Ukraine and Trump-proof it so Trump can't mess around with it. We got to do things in this Omni bill to try to Trump-proof it. So he can't go after the people that actually broke the law. So we're seeing playing out the national security state, the power being taken away through the Trump administration, through Vivek and the restructuring, through Elon Musk in the restructuring. And you have the national security state that is trying to do things behind the scenes to try to weaken them, to prevent them from restructuring. The national security state's trying to create a situation where politically it'd be impossible to restructure the national security state. And the only way that could be is during an emergency. An emergency. Now, what's that going to be? Before I continue, I need to plug for some products. Why? Because I haven't plugged any products for 3 videos. Please help support my work by going to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the great supplements that I offer. These are supplements that I take to improve my immune system, to slow down the aging process, to increase longevity, and through this, you just have more vitality. Now, I've been taking a protocol since I was 16 years old with a lot of antioxidants, and over time, I have improved that protocol through just understanding how the body works, how my body works. Everyone's biochemistry is slightly different. And you can learn a lot from just my own personal journey on this. And I've been doing this since I was 16 years old. And it's obviously it works, all right? So please, go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support the channel by help improving your health, all right? And follow my lead on this, all right? So one great supplement that I have is NAC, all right? This is a supplement that I've added to my stack. And this supplement I added to help boost up glutathione levels. Glutathione is an antioxidant that's on a different pathway than how C60 works. So by boosting up your glutathione levels, you're going to be soaking up those free radicals. And by soaking up those free radicals, you're reducing the stress in the cell. And so that means that you're going to have better mitochondrial health, and you're going to have more energy in that cell because there's less stress. So soak up those free radicals by boosting up the glutathione levels by taking NAC. If you have to take acetaminophen because of headaches or pain or whatever, a great way to detoxify from acetaminophen is taking NAC. NAC helps to detoxify your liver and your kidney, really important. And NAC helps to calm the nervous system, get it out of sympathetic and go more into parasympathetic. It reduces anxiety. So please help support my work and your health by going to the store and getting NAC. This is something that I've added to my stack to boost up the glutathione levels. Also, taking a great probiotic is really important for good gut biome. I have a powdered version. I also have a veggie cap version for the ones that prefer to take the veggie cap. There's a little scooper in here. Just mix it with food. I normally mix it with hummus, but you mix it every day. You take it every day. You can mix it with just water, filtered water. You just take a little scoop each day, and bam, you got a much better gut biome. You're going to be digesting better. You're going to have better metabolism. You're going to have better communication with your gut and your liver and your gut and your brain. When you have a good gut biome, you're going to have better skin, and you're going to have better mental acuity. And vitamin C, really important during the cold season, helps to boost up your immune system. This also has magnesium in it, which is also good for your immune system. Really important. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose. Turmeric and ashwagandha, all right? Inflammation, all right? A lot of people don't understand that when you're chronically inflamed, your immune system will go down, all right? In addition, a lot of inflammation can cause further buildup of plaque. So if you bring down inflammation, you're helping with your immune system and you're helping with your cardiovascular system. So take turmeric. It's an antioxidant, so soaks up free radicals. Are you noticing a pattern? That pattern is take antioxidants. All right, so turmeric is an antioxidant, so soak up those free radicals, but this also brings down inflammation. Ashwagandha controls cortisol levels. By bringing down cortisol levels, you're bringing down inflammation. And it also helps to control your glucose levels. So by controlling your glucose levels and your cortisol levels, you're bringing down inflammation. You stack these together and you're helping your cardiovascular system, reducing the chances of further plaque buildup, and you're improving your immune system. It's a great stack. This is a great stack. My protocol is based on 3 pillars. Neutralize pathogens, bring down inflammation, soak up free radicals. You do that, you got a core, and then you build around the core. So this is one of the pillars of the core. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I have a discount on my store that people can use. I've had it there for 5 years. It's called Discount 5. It's all caps, discount, and then the number 5. And you get $5 off on any item. Per order. One, you can only use it once per order. And I've added to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, ubiquinol. Ubiquinol is the highest bioavailable CoQ10 that you can take. So this is a very high quality product, all right? Ubiquinol is really important. It soaks up free radicals, so it's an antioxidant. Helps to improve the mitochondrial health, so it's going to improve your energy levels. And when you get older, you need to protect your neurons. Ubiquinol helps to protect those neurons. So please go to my store and get the ubiquinol. And lastly, NAD+. Really important. Boosts up energy levels, helps to repair DNA damage. Guess what? When you get older, you get more DNA damage. You need a little bit of help to fix it. Take NAD+. And it helps to protect neurons. It's synergistic with ubiquinol. You get older and you need to protect those neurons, your peripheral neurons and your central nervous system neurons. So you have better mental acuity, better balancing, better muscle coordination, better memory, consolidation. Taking NAD+ and ubiquinol together is going to help you with that. Guess what? A big part of society is getting older. Well, if you want to mitigate some of the problems with getting older, you should be taking these supplements. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and use the discount. Use discount 5, all caps, and the number 5. All right? And you get $5 off. And I've had that discount since the beginning of the store. So please use it. All right, let's get back to what I was talking about with drones and the DoD power. So my take on the drones is that it's U.S. and they're doing operations to improve capability for usage on the battlefield, primarily for the Middle East, because I believe the United States is going to try to knock out Iran in 2025. Now, on X, I posted last night a series of posts dealing with the DoD. And I'm going to read you a document that was posted yesterday by the Department of Defense. All right? This is from the Department of Defense's website. Now, It was released on December 18th. Today is the 19th. From the U.S. Department of Defense. The title of it is DoD Releases Chemical and Biological Defense Program Enterprise Strategy. Okay. The Department of Defense releases today the 2024 Chemical and Biological Defense Program, 2024 CBDP, Enterprise Strategy. Don't you love the words they use? Enterprise Strategy. Who's Enterprise? It replaces the 2020 CBDP strategy and positions the department to ensure the total force to carry out its missions in the face of advanced chemical and biological threats. I thought we were moving towards a peaceful environment. Taking its lead from the 2022 National Defense Strategy, this strategy prioritizes delivery of operationally relevant chemical and biological defense CBD capabilities at speed and scale. Sounds like warp speed to me. To sustain and strengthen U.S. deterrence against the People's Republic of China as the pacing challenge, and Russia as the acute threat. So they're worried about China and Russia. And didn't I say that the drones are related to World War III in 3 different theaters? The new strategy reinforces other strategic guidance, including the 2023 strategy for countering weapons of mass destruction, inaugural National Defense Industrial Strategy, and the Biodefense Posture Review. It also calls for tighter integration of CBD capabilities with international allies and partners to ensure our combined armed forces can deter or prevail against advanced chemical and biological threats. Now, why are they issuing this document with drones up in the sky where the Pentagon says, don't worry, but we don't know what it is, and the bill, the Omni bill, that had a lot of provisions in it, was struck down. Strategic competition and rapid technological changes are making chemical and biological threats harder to defend against and increasingly attractive to adversaries, said Ian Watson, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Chemical and Biological Defense. This strategy creates the urgency and change necessary to continue to outpace our adversaries and the threat. The CBDP develops chemical and biological defense material capabilities for all the military services. DoD is increasingly prioritizing CBD modernization to ensure the joint force is equipped to carry out all its missions in the face of chemical and biological threats. To deliver operational relevant CBD capabilities at speed and scale, their strategy aligns the department's efforts in 4 ways. You ready? It's bullet pointed. Generate material solutions that increase decision space, reduce initial operational impact, and rapidly restore combat power. Interesting. They're worried that something's going to happen where there's going to be an incapacitation of our forces. Pursue technical enablers and innovative approaches that accelerate capability delivery at sufficient scales. Posture the chemical and biological defense program around delivering operationally relevant capabilities at speed and scale. Speed and scale. Again, it sounds like warp speed to me. Leverage and expand interagency, international, industry, and academic partners. Ooh, that's interesting. Integrate interagency, international, industry, and academic partners. That's exactly what happened during the gain of function that was taking place. You had you had NIH money going to universities, to labs, to do the gain of function, to write papers, to coordinate with different labs in other countries, and all, by the way, coordinate with DARPA. This is the BioPatriot Act right here. You can read the full strategy on the DoD website here, and there's a link. So just go to my X page, scroll down a little bit because it was yesterday, and go to the DoD website, and you can read the whole thing. The Office of Assistant Secretary of Defense of Nuclear, Chemical, and Biological Defense Programs, OASD, parentheses, NCB. I'm starting to come to realization, since I'm, over 50, that if there's a lot of letters in an acronym, you probably can't trust them. Leads DoD efforts to ensure a safe, secure, and effective U.S. nuclear deterrent. But this is about biological warfare, chemical warfare. And then they dovetail it right into nuclear. And we keep on hearing in the news about tactical nukes by Putin. I'm telling you, they're setting something up for a 9/11. As the world returns to great power competition and the recognition that threats against the United States, its allies, and its interests are both proliferating and becoming more difficult to challenge, OACD, parentheses, NCB, ended parentheses, is at the forefront of the U.S. efforts to sustain and modernize the nuclear deterrent. So it's very, very nuclear, even though it's a chemical and biological document. From the operational to the administrative to the speed of response and production, OACD NCB is reshaping the way the DoD meets and responds to weapons of mass destruction threats. Now, what happened in the news recently? I don't know. Last week? Syria? And when they were blowing stuff up, Israel was blowing stuff up, the United States was blowing stuff up, and in the news, what did we start hearing? Chemical warfare from Syria. That was last week. I'm not wrong, guys. Dr. Paul Cottrell is not wrong. The United States government is setting up for another fucking 9/11 because they don't want Trump to restructure the national security state. Now, what are you going to do about it? Now, Dr. Paul Cottrell thinks no one's going to do anything, and we're going to actually see another 9/11. Now, how that 9/11 happens, I'm not sure. Might be nuclear. I don't know. But it's going to be probably bigger than 9/11. These people that are running the DoD are fucking crazy. Fucking crazy. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. The woman that wrote the new book about nuclear war, I think her name's Anne. I always keep on forgetting her last name. Anne, nuclear war book. I forgot the last name. She just recently wrote it. Oh, Jacobson. Annie Jacobson. So Nuclear War, Annie Jacobson wrote. I heard the audiobook of it a couple months ago, maybe. It's a good book. It takes you through the launch of a nuclear weapon from a foreign country and our response, minute by minute, second by second, and what's going on in it. But the big takeaway is this: the government isn't going to take care of you. You're probably going to be better off dead than alive in a nuclear exchange. And the people that are at the Pentagon have positioned themselves to be part of the continuity of government and not be held accountable for the decisions that they've made. And they used your tax dollars to do it. And this is the reason why I am so belligerent when I hear a general that hasn't won a war in recent years go on CNN or Fox or whatever and pontificate on how the world should be. We have had this Damocles of nuclear, chemical, and biological warfare over our head for too fucking long. And that was the reason why I talked about the crisis in 2020. Because it's all part of a big picture here. It's not just some, gain of function thing that just got out. It's a runaway national security state. And until you restructure it, until you hold those people accountable, we are literally walking ourselves into World War III. Sleepwalking right into it. And we don't have people in government that are wise enough to make these decisions. You honestly think that we have people in government today that are more wise than the people around the table during the Cuban Missile Crisis? We have people that are less wise now, not more wise. And it was really dangerous then. And the capabilities are far greater now. The miscalculations are far more. You have too many talking heads and think tanks that have made money on coming up with strategies in chemical, biological, and nuclear defense or offense. They made money on this, not realizing that what they penned may actually be the key for a launch code that leads to Armageddon. Don't you think that's a problem? Don't you think that the CISS needs to be held accountable? Don't you think that the CFR needs to be held accountable? Don't you think the Trilateral Commission needs to be held accountable? I think so. Let me plug some other products before we close it out. Please help support my work by going to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and follow the protocol that I do to improve my health. This is something I've been doing for a long time, and I've tweaked it over the years to slow down the aging process and to try to get as healthy as I can. All right? One great product that I have on my store is the Max 14 and the Max 35. This is a structural nano silver that you take. What I do is I take a teaspoon of it a day, swish it in my mouth, gargle about 20-30 seconds, and then swallow. Do that daily. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or two a day. All right? It's really simple. Max 14 is 14 ppms, Max 35 is 35 ppms. Please go to the store and get that product. Take it every day. Resveratrol, antioxidant. It works really well when you stack it with another antioxidant, like ubiquinol, like C60. So resveratrol also helps to get rid of senescent cells. That's really important. When you get older, you start to have cells that stop dividing. Now, once they get to that point, they can either die off or they just stay there and they go into senescence. They're senesced. So, senescence. So in senescence, the cell isn't dividing anymore, but can accumulate toxins, all right? And as you get older, you have more and more of these senescent cells. So you have aged tissue that's collecting toxins, all right? Lipofusins. So what happens is that you want to get rid of those. Now you can help with the getting rid of those senescent cells and have them go into apoptosis. And then what happens is that in that tissue that you have adult stem cells, the tissue kind of realizes, wait a minute, I have cells that are dying because the senescent cells are going into apoptosis. It creates a signal and it tells the adult stem cells, hey, create a new cell. And so what happens is a new population of cells start to happen. So if you get rid of your senescent cells over time, you actually have younger tissue based on a telomere length, right? Because your telomere length is based from how many times it's been divided. Well, if you go to senescence, you have a very short telomere length. And so you can look at age biologically through two different ways. One is methylization of your genetics, right? As you get older, certain genes will methylate differently. Another way is the telomere length. The shorter the telomere, the more aged the tissue. But if you get rid of the senescent cells and you repopulate in your tissue from the adult stem cells, and the telomere lengths are slightly longer now because they're younger cells, you, at the tissue level, are younger. That's how anti-aging works, all right? Reduce stress, soak up those free radicals, get rid of senescent cells, and activate those adult stem cells in tissues that can regenerate. Not all tissues can regenerate, but the ones that can are really important. So please go to my store and get the resveratrol. It works really well when you stack it with C60. Now, since we're talking about C60, C60 is a very strong antioxidant. It's very potent. You can get it in MCT coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, or avocado oil. You can get it in a 2 ounce, or 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. The higher ounce configuration, the cheaper it is per ounce. You take it every day, take a teaspoon of it a day, and what that will do is it'll soak up free radicals, all right? C60 is a molecule, looks like a soccer ball, a fullerene, and the way the chemistry of the soccer ball, the C60 molecule is it will soak up hundreds of free radicals. If you look at vitamin C, it's one molecule that can only soak up one molecule of free radical, all right? And it can't recharge. But the way C60 molecule, it can recharge and soak up more. So when you do this on a regular basis, you're going to bring down the free radicals in your cells, and you're going to improve the energy levels of those cells, and you're going to have more ATP. Less stress, more ATP, and that means your tissues are healthier. So that means your glands are better. That means your endocrine system's better. That means your immune system's better. That means your liver's better. That means your kidney's better. And oh, by the way, your neurons. Why? Because you need a lot of mitochondria for your neurons. All right? So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. It's a very important antioxidant. It's part of my pillar, the 3 pillars that I told you earlier. C60 is one of those pillars. The other pillar is the turmeric and the ashwagandha. And the last pillar is the structural nano silver liquid. And K2, very important vitamin. It's a dual purpose vitamin. It helps with cardiovascular health and bone health. Please go to my store and get K2. Stack it with D3, all right? And since we're talking about D3, D3 helps to soak up calcium, absorb calcium, right? It's a gene expression cofactor. That's really important because your cells need to gene express, right? And when your cells are infected, they need to go into apoptosis. To help get cells into apoptosis, D3. That was part of the reason why D3 was so important in 2020. And lastly, nattokinase. Nattokinase is really important for cardiovascular health. Why? Nattokinase is fibrinolytic, so it'll help to break up clots, but it also helps to bring down LDL levels, bad cholesterol, and help to increase good cholesterol. All right? A lot of people don't realize not all cholesterol is equal. You have bad cholesterol and good cholesterol. You want less bad cholesterol, you want more good cholesterol. Take nattokinase, help to break up clots, but because it's fibrinolytic, but nattokinase taken on a regular basis will help to lower LDL levels, increase HDL levels. So those are the products that I have on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I have a lot of others, but I don't have time to go over it in this video. But keep in mind, the drones and the DoD update are together. It's not ET, drones aren't ET, it's not a foreign adversary, it's the American government increasing its drone capability for the next operations against Iran. And it's creating these kind of like stories so people can create conspiracy theories that it's maybe a broken arrow or some sort of nuclear, something nuclear that's missing. The story doesn't make sense. We're the people that have radioactive sickness. If they're not getting radioactive sickness, there's no way in hell that you're going to have a drone that's 600 feet in the air being able to detect a radioactive material. Let's use some common sense. Your government is lying to you because it's setting up for a war with Iran. Now, should Iran be destroyed and the Ayatollah overthrown? Yeah, I think so. You may disagree. What I'm worried about is the national security state creating a 9/11 that prevents the Trump administration from restructuring the national security state. And I think that's very highly probable. Thank you for listening. Please help support my work by going to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.